So, yeah, first of all, welcome to my YouTube channel, Biochem Lab. Today, as our first video, we're going to talk about erythropoiesis. Let's dive into this title. So, as you think, what is erythropoiesis? Yeah, erythropoiesis is the formation of red blood cells, as known as RBCs. So, actually, where do these RBCs are formed? Yeah, in infants, RBCs are formed in spleen and liver. And after he is born, his RBCs are formed in the red bone marrow. So, there are few steps in RBC formation. So, it starts as the hematopoietic stem cell. What actually is a stem cell? A stem cell is a cell that can differentiate into many other forms of cells. It can divide into multiple cells and then it can differentiate into many other forms. So, in red bone marrows, there are hematopoietic stem cells. So, these hematopoietic stem cells turn into Proerythroblast. So, Proerythroblast converts into polychromatic normoblast, also known as polychromatic erythrocyte. Polychromatic normoblast turns into orthochromatic normoblast. These orthochromatic normoblast has to expel its nucleus. In this stage, nucleus is expelled out. And then, orthochromatic normoblast turns into reticulocyte. This reticulocyte is also the immature RBC. It enters blood, and in blood, it turns into a mature RBC, also known as erythrocyte. So, until the production of reticulocyte, it takes around 5 to 7 days. After that, when it turns into a mature RBC, it only takes around 1 to 2 days. So, let's see again what actually happens during this maturation. Yeah. As the first thing, cell size decreases. Also, the hemoglobin amount increases. As you know, in orthochromatic normoblast stage, nucleus is disappeared. And eventually, RBC becomes biconcave. All of these happens to store more oxygen as much as possible. You can see it. When it decreases its size, its intention is to go through capillaries. Also, RBC becomes biconcave to go through capillaries easily. When it increases hemoglobin amount, it wants to store more oxygen. And when the nucleus disappears, to make more space to store more hemoglobin in order to store more oxygen. So that's it. So let's see what they actually looks like. First of all, if you talk about hematopoietic stem cell, it is the biggest one of all. It also has a nucleus, a large nucleus. And this is actually a normal cell. It looks like a normal cell. So, eventually it becomes smaller when it turns into a proerythroblast. In this proerythroblast, there are a little bit of ribosomes. Yeah, you all know that ribosomes are needed in protein synthesis. So there should be ribosomes in order to make hemoglobin. So the cell looks like granules inside the cells. It looks like a granulocyte. Not a granulocyte, but it looks like a granulocyte as there are granules seen in the cell. Then if we consider about polychromatic normoblasts, there are a bit of hemoglobin. So the blue cell takes a bit redder. So it turns into purple color. And then this polychromatic normoblast turns into orthochromatic normoblast. And now it almost looks like red color. Yeah, in this stage, it expels the nucleus out. So you can see it is expelling its nucleus out in this picture. Then it turns into a much smaller version called reticulocyte. Now it has a lot of hemoglobin in it. Hemoglobin can be seen also in this stage. Then finally, mature RBC, also known as erythrocyte. It is a bit biconcave. Yeah, it actually has the shape of biconcave to go through the capillaries easily. So now, let's talk about some other information. Yeah, you should really need this information in order to write in the exam. They are very special. First of all, you all know about erythropoietin. What is erythropoietin? Yeah, it's a hormone produced in kidneys. This hormone is produced in kidneys when the blood oxygen levels are low. Yeah, we call this special condition as hypoxia. In hypoxic condition, kidneys produce erythropoietin. These erythropoietin hormones can actually stimulate RBC production. If kidneys are failed, yeah, you know this condition, kidney failure. In kidney failures, this erythropoietin production gets lower. So RBC production also decreases. Then it can lead to anemic condition. So what are the factors needed in RBC production? Mainly iron is needed. And then vitamin B12, vitamin B9, also known as folate, and also proteins are needed. If iron is deficient, so what happens? Actually, iron helps in hemoglobin synthesis. If iron is deficient, iron deficiency anemia occurs, as there are no hemoglobin synthesis. When hemoglobin synthesis is lowered, this condition occurs. Both vitamin B9 and vitamin B12 helps in DNA synthesis. So, if DNA synthesis is not occurred, what happens? If vitamin B9 and 12 is deficient, actually DNA synthesis is lowered. So what happens when DNA synthesis is lowered? No DNA, no cell production. Yeah, so the cell formation cannot proceed ahead. So it stops actually in one particular stage. so the cells cannot proceed ahead, so they are not getting smaller, so they remain bigger, big cells. It is called megaloblastic anemia. So finally, proteins. What proteins actually do in this RBC production? Yeah, in hemoglobins there are globin parts. So proteins contribute in producing this globin part of hemoglobin. So this is the end of RBC production, also known as erythropoiesis. I hope you get what you needed. I mean knowledge. If you found this worth it, you can comment below and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you.